Hi everyone, my name is Ha from Hanoi. So I am the founder of Respect Vietnam. This is the local organization we're working on. What we call is providing sustainable workplace solution. Simply what you mean about it. We are providing solution. We are advising CEOs, CFOs, HR people, trade union, and basically employees at workplace, how to work together in a nice way, effective way, in a good way. But another thing that we're doing is we're using the statistics that we're working with company and go to the National Assembly or the government of Vietnam, telling them that's going on in Vietnam on a real-time basis. So with the statistics, we would be able to tell them what's truly going on in Vietnam, and in order to contribute to the process of changing policy, changing different standards and requirements when Vietnam got in globalization, like free trade agreement that you might heard of, and changing the law and system in Vietnam accordingly. So that's basically our job.
So our first question is, what are your thoughts on Vietnam's social or economic development, and how is Vietnam's progress compared to that of other countries?
This is a really big question. I mean, I'm not in position, I'm not compared to two of my friends here to be able to answer to you and how optimistic we can look at social and economic development in Vietnam. I might need to say, I'm going to tell you a little bit myself, as you are here. High school, right? How old? 17. I'm telling you, when I was 17 years old, it took me another 3 years to first time wear my jeans. I wear jeans when I was 23, because I'm afraid of people, it's the traditional way of looking at how I look in front of people. It's, scared not to, wear jeans in a proper way because the traditional way of thinking is still here. And I have an opportunity for work in Ministry of Labor. And I think that back then, I did not really know what I'm doing up there for 4 years. And then sometimes I thought maybe people think I'm sort of flower vase. My job is to pouring in, teas and coffee. But the worst part is I have a lot of questions to ask, but nobody answers for me. So I really think that I'm sort of not very intelligent. I'm not smart, maybe I'm stupid. And there's a little bit some loser in my mind thinking about myself, what I'm going to do in the future. And then I have another opportunity to go to Cornell University. Believe it or not. Oh, no, God, I'm not like my wonderful friend here. I got to the Cornell University. The first thing to do is to be the student spouse. My husband went there to be a Fulbright. And I'm supposed to go to school for him and having fun. But it's beautiful at Cornell University. You might know it's one of the 8 Ivy schools with Harvard, Yale, and then Cornell's the youngest guy. But it's beautiful. So I thought that's what my job is about. But eventually I got encouraged to get to see one professor to apply to get admission into Cornell. And after my interview, he's the toughest professor that you really know about Vietnam agriculture. After 20 minutes talking about my job in Ministry of Labor, he looked at me. I don't think you actually understand what you're doing here. What is your job there?
But I can.
That's about him. I almost cried. My friend told me, he's gonna make you cry. And I know that when I walk through that door, everything will end. I'll go back and cook for my husband. I know that for a fact. But then something really, I'm in the United States, I got to say something. Over the past many years, you have many questions, and I try not to, I'm not daring to ask more and digging in more questions. Here I'm gonna go back to. So I didn't go there, I'll turn back. And I said, this is what I want to explain and tell you what I know. We got into WTO, BTA, free trade agreement. But why? Everyone would like Vietnam to improve human rights. Labor rights, environmental issues. We went into company, factory, seeing workers working in bad working conditions, who's take responsibility for that. And workers supposed to be part of 50 million working population of the whole country. If they just happen to go on the street, about like 100,000 of them, they block highway, isn't it? Has anybody heard about that? Wildcat strike everywhere? About the stability of not the society, but the economic. So labor is truly something, workplace, labor, employment, human, identity related to both, social and economic development. On and on and on. I don't remember exactly what I said, but my face red. I mean, barely confronting like that in front of my parents and in front of my, teacher. But I did that in front of a Cornell professor. I couldn't believe that how I could do that. So after a while, I take a deep breath and look at him. He actually smiled. And that's the reason why I got admitted to Cornell University. My story is basically I'm just normal, very shy student, very low starting point. You may can ask it. I'm not, really thinking, talking, and even invited you to economic, social, and development in Vietnam, and you even willing to come and join. You're like, were you? I'm saying I'm not gonna come because I don't understand what that means. So basically, this is how, new environment. But I think more important is the people or the factors that make you think and change your mind about what's going on around you and simply about what you want to answer, the question in your mind. Think about globalization and socio-economic development in Vietnam from that standpoint. To simply think what you'd like to think the most. Is there any human, issue, like Professor just mentioned, or economic development? As a human being, we need both. We need money. We need, after we study, in order to get a good job, have a stable life, stable income. We get into families, make a family, proud about us. And then we want to be much better in the future, isn't it? So it's an amazing combination. It's a very exciting package. And it's the most challenging thing, because Ms. Thủy here will agree with me that negotiation, right, about labor and human rights standard in the next generation free trade agreement who respect those standards is the most challenging in Vietnam until now and maybe in the future. So basically, that's what got me to think is an optimistic think about it when you want to think about it in this optimistic way. You want to answer the question you have in your mind, and you will see optimistic or not. But it's still not important. It's about how you look at it deeply into what we call is below the iceberg. Because right now, most of the discussion about social and economic and labor and trade is actually tip of the iceberg. And the whole society and economy in Vietnam is like a big iceberg. We're going. We come in joining every economy, and then we not really look at below how big, how huge the below of the iceberg. If we get crushed, what can happen? And the amazing study from a Japanese economic already say that 44% of annual leadership in any organization or any government or any country, only 4% of them knowing the problem under the, below the iceberg. 9% is the middle, 74% of the lower, and the lowest one, 100%. So our leadership lack of 96% knowing what's going on down here. So when I realized that my job is how exciting is to get them know a little more about those 96%, I would love to see any of you, if later you could be 4% of off or down here is 96, you will choose where you are. And you really see the iceberg from that spot to really answer the question today from the panel.
So, in general, there have always been opinions that countries sacrifice traditional values upon encountering globalization. What is your perspective on that statement?
It's the perfect, answer to the question, but I would love to bring in. But I would like to go back to the fact that we're seeing that, whether it's the values really are and traditional values are, is the way you define it, the way you get it from your own family, your community, and from especially in your education. So, I mean, so far we talk about Hẻm, Ngõ, village, different, chung cư. I think the people living there with the feeling of tình cảm that they have for those things is a traditional value. But now the most important thing is how we actually, work with our own family, our own value to make what we believe in actually work. So I cannot have an answer for that because not my field. But going back, we're talking about traditional value for what we do, the work. We study and then we're going to do that in the future. There is a traditional value over that. Let me go back to what we see in the intersection between social development and economic development. Let's make a very clear example about labor standard in free trade agreement. The reason why I mentioned public sector, I learned a lot from it, and I'm still learning everything, and I'm still working with them. But it's still so hard that even now, everybody in the world, especially in the US, when we are negotiating Trans-Pacific Partnership, anybody know about it? TPP? Bao nhiêu nước tham gia? How many countries involved? Around more than 10. That would be great. Is that included the US? Yes. TPP. But now we have a different one without the US. Mystery gonna go into that lecture. I'm not gonna provide that. My point is, the US and the US citizen, the US people, always believe that in Vietnam we have to allow independent trade union in order to protect labor rights and workers' rights. And that's why they will sign the free trade agreement with us. But our study for the free trade agreement with labor standard over the past 10 years telling us it's not only condition. It's not just about independent trade union. You see how many independent trade union in the US? There are only 8% of trade union density in the country. And how many thousand independent trade union in Cambodia? They fight every day. They make a chaos. But whether worker really got protected, those poor and vulnerable workers, I'm not so sure about that. So Vietnam relating to labor and trade, which is really got into some other section to talk about it, 96% below. That is basically the very comprehensive package for the government to look at what the human side and the commercial side. Economic growth, there are 3 dimensions thinking about that. Is the economic growth, competitiveness of the country. Another is the in protection of the worker, or you guys here, not just the worker, not poor worker. You guys, while here is going to be at the labor market about 50 million and will be more later, your job and your income and your right is the means to go there. If you have the good right and you get protected, you would have good job and income. You can negotiate with your boss. Imagine that. And the last one is the industrial peace. The stability that the society would have that makes sure that no 1,000, 100,000 of wildcats try on the street, people fighting, hitting, damaging each other. So 3 items that any government needs to think about, and I'm telling you, the government in Vietnam would be the best one in this, dealing with it, because it's the most challenging thing in the world that any other government had to deal with like 100 years ago. But now we're starting. But the reason is why people don't go to that, because so many experts in labor field, they don't study the standard in the way it's supposed to be. Another incident I can show you is who know or care a little bit about minimum wage in Vietnam. Minimum wage, we increase minimum wage every year. Your parents actually got in minimum wage involved? No. But I'm telling you that's something really relating to about 50 million and at least 2.5 million workers down below on the road. They are getting every year increase from 10 to 20% of minimum wage increase. that if you, uncle, your parents, anybody who happen to get into the very lowest level of the workplace, they would get that pay. So one time, the government with the trade union increased it every year, and there was a study from a very famous institute in Vietnam with the economics telling us that minimum wage actually destroying economic growth on media. And there's been a debate since then. So one side say that minimum wage helping poorest workers, make sure they not go back to poverty rate, so make unstable society and economy. But some other economists that say that minimum wage actually destroy economic growth, the economy. Why is that? We write down a comic, we have a comic capture that things. So basically, it's about learning process. It's about what we tweet to say about what kind of answer to that question. If we cannot answer today, we have to answer your generation. Because that is really challenging, but also inspiring when you really dig into 96% of it. If you don't, and you just look around, you just see some Facebook talking, oh no, I like worker. I want to protect them. Let's increase some percentage. Some others say, no, I'm work with business, I know, impossible. It's destroying the economy. So we're gonna have to need those two, happen what in the US in some extent. Some have, the population, the whole government split in two with two different mindsets, which is okay. Because we live in the world that we're accepting things, we, see things change. But how each one of us here learn in order to make the change meaningful by only really digging into those good knowledge, but not of those really tip of the iceberg. Then again, that I think that's a value that you have attached to your life and your work, which is the two most important things for every single one of us, could be really important.
Okay, so one more question. What is one strength and weakness about Vietnam's social economic progress?
I think we pretty much touching some of this part of strength and weaknesses, the globalization. And I just want to add one more, which is Ms. Tweez remind me of what's this progress we're seeing, which is also the strength of the young generation that we're seeing, is that term that I'm sure every single one of you needs to listen and hear about lately, Industrial 4.0. Who's not actually heard about it? 4.0. Who's not actually heard about that? I'm kidding. Who's really know about it? The government of Vietnam, the economy, startup, and Ms. Tweez just mentioned, we've been talking about that almost every day. Yeah? Expecting generation like you guys, later gonna go out, not just working for an organization, working for a company, creating a relationship with your bosses, with the people who pay you. But you can get paid for yourself. Just plug in the phone, tuck, 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 right? You can be a, designer, apply for Upwork in the US, designing and send overnight to the guys next day he need it. He love it because you have the time zone different, huh? It's perfect for economics, isn't it? And the payment is perfect because when they agree with that, it's taking how many man days you have provided, and they got you go to your account. No HR, huh? Not headache. I'm sorry today I'm late. You late, you got 1 day off. I've been working for so long. Okay, you don't say hi to me, my boss. Yeah, the guy did. So your KPI is only 2. He's number 10. Don't laugh, it happened. The boss go with the boys outside and having the balloon. Something that makes you like, oh, that one. I'm serious. You got to sit down with the guy. So he's gonna make your KPI good. So the HR will give you the good money. In your job, you get fired every time you get a chance. if you don't make your boss happy and you don't know KPI. We have so many cases they have to teach people about labor law because so many people, only things happen to them, including CEO from other country in Vietnam working for a Vietnamese company, or the high position in Vietnam working for a Western company in Vietnam. Lately, you can get fired anytime. It's possible to happen, but you don't go to sue and you don't hear that on media. In your office, they have a little camera in here. By the end of your employment, you realize, oh shit, they've been filming me. What do I do? This is gonna be bad. In some hotel, some girl is short is 1.52 meters. No, 1.54 meters. She's not gonna get bonus for her the way she look. Appearance, which is got about $100 per month, which is completely against some standard, although the way we think about it, and which is happening in a hotel. People don't care because everybody putting money on helping worker in the factory making sneakers and clothes. So all of that we call unfair labor practices have been, if you might not know about it, later when you get into the labor market, do you want it to actually happen to you? No. Been working so hard and studying so much, to get the job I want. And I don't want to be treated like that bad. Bullying, sexual harassment, I'm telling you, you name it. Anybody know about some sexual harassment cases in Soviet lately? Yeah. See, we need to do more community work communication linked to Soviet because that's what they know. Because the case I've been talking about, the sexual harassment, is with the singer, and then the little lady is very brave, which is other don't really speak up the way she did. Right? It's such a case to look at, right? So, all this, what I'm saying, in the very conventional that we call workplace, traditional workplace, but we have a contract, you work with your boss, you negotiate with working with him. If everything happen like that, you prefer some other job we call gig. Gig. G-I-G. You know gig? Yeah. So, it means we actually we can influence over the government, giving a freedom for gig in Vietnam. Instead of in Europe, everywhere, they start to go to ban or limit gig job versus job, gig versus job. Then the best thing is everything has pros and cons, right? But you have the right to choose what you want to do. And I'm very curious to see whether you're going to go there for the future job based on what you learn today in the next many years, that you will be able to tell us that what type of job you actually pick.
So all of you are talking a lot about working together and cooperate. However, a lot of people think from medical perspective, they think that being competitive is good too. So what do you think about this trend, and what do you think? Which one do you think is the best option for sustainable development?
The question being just the best program that we provide in different workplace companies, behavioral management. So in the words, just like two friends already said, you cooperate and you compete. So in a Thomas Kierman, later you might learn about, sometimes you gotta be a shock, confronting. When you see your benefit and you really gotta get it, but on the same token, you know that guy is willing to give it to you. But sometimes you're willing to be a bear. I give it to you. I'll take it later. But in another case, you want to be a turtle. You sneak away. You avoid. You know you're not gonna win. You find another way around. And in most of the case, that what we're doing now in every field, people try to see a win-win situation where you compromise with your friend. Hey guys, if I need that half of the apple, cut it between. Easy, fast, right? But the hardest part is collaboration. Is the owl. Being smart, being truly get each one of us get both, each one of us has an apple. But what is the problem with that one? How? What a problem with cooperation? Sounds a great idea, but before easy to get half apple, this half apple, but how to make one apple with this one apple? 2 apple. How? Working together and learn about each other. So you're digging in the knowledge of knowing what we want. I truly want one more apple, or I'm okay with her with half because time ticking. I need to get half at least. But I'm okay with the timing because cooperation takes time. You gotta learn from each other, and you got to build relationship based on the knowledge of each other and respect and trust. Those 5 principles of Thomas Kimmel and any negotiation skill, anything you have to apply since you with your little friend, with your sister, with your parents, with your wife later, and the boss, and anything in the world, including Miss Tweed, she go negotiation with that things. You trade with like really big things. So that is basically for your question.
So my name is Hviet, and I have a question that a lot of startups recently, many of them are successful, but a lot of them are not. So there are many factors contributing to the success, but in your opinion, what is the most important factor? Thank you so much.
So in a very big conference about Vietnam at the startup country, we're sitting with all peoples in the government, National Assembly, research, everything talk about startup country, startup nation, also mean about startup, companies in Vietnam. And I'll ask the question about whether we should just go by not knowing what the road to take us, or we have to study where to go in order to transform the idea of a startup become a real startup. It's been a huge debate back then. What is really need to do? What is not? Because if you study too much, the opportunities fade away, right? Your idea can be stealed by some others, which is true. But if you do right away and just go, wherever the path take you, you might get there, you might not get there, but very much based on what you say, because I love what you said, which is exactly what we do, human and people. But also we start up regarding to company and thinking about country. It's about the way to people and people, we are governed. The relationship between us governed by law, by rules, by contract, by the belief, the trust and respect, all sort of things together in order to make things happen. Sometimes we focus on the people, treat them well, make them happy with the work and make them do all the coding, pay them well. But then one day they say, well, we didn't sign a contract. I'll go, bye-bye. Some other guy pay me more. Right? Anything relating to what happened in a startup at the company, like exactly what you do entrepreneurship. How many of you studying entrepreneurship here? Business management, international business? You guys think about that. In a way that whatever you do, you have to learn all the way through. Our education system back then didn't give us the whole answer for all that question, but you guys would get that. Because I have a startup as well. And it's a good idea. I have this huge award. Hatch, UNDP award, and some others from Swedish government award and sort of it's a recognition out there. Because we like to link labor standard into business, development and trade. I'm gonna go to her for some support and funding later.
Sure.
Lobby right or fund my strategy. And it's happened because people help. But when you make the app on the platform coming in, you get so many problems and challenges that you cannot imagine. Including people, rules, regulation, people, process, problem solving, policy. 4P, editorial time management. That's what we teach people, but we face it as well. So for startup, it just go back to you. Do what you love, bring an idea, but never stop learning entrepreneurship and how to really make a startup alive. Thank you.